Delta 45 Sail Tower, wind 0307, runway 34 left, clear to land.
Welcome to Jet Fuel Devs, everyone. Again, welcome to episode 5, where tech and aviation meet to help you soar to new heights in your development journey. I'm Veronika, your co host. I'm a professional flight attendant flying for about close to 8 years now, which is wild. I just can't believe time flies. Time flies, everything flies. And also, I'm a full time student, software engineering student, software developer, and I'm a full time AI enthusiast as well. So, I'll have to say now hello to Dan. Hi, Dan. How are you? How have you been?
Hi, Veronica. Good to see you again. Good morning from my side of the world, and it's afternoon for you. You're in Dubai, I believe.
Yes,
Of course.
yes, now in
Yeah,
Dubai.
it's been a minute. We've been busy with our work lives. I am to reintroduce
I
myself for those of you who
know.
might be just joining the show. I'm a professional pilot for a major U.S. airline flying a 737 based out of Seattle. And I am also an iOS developer. I have several apps on the App Store, and I'm working on a new app as well, focused primarily in Swift and Swift UI, getting into Swift data. I've been doing software development for about 7 years, and I've been flying professionally for 23 years, which is a long time, and that's not even including my
Wow.
the flying before that. And yeah, time flies when you're flying, that's for sure. It's good to be back. Good to talk with you again about aviation software
Yes.
development. We're going to talk today about how to regain your momentum with software development if you've maybe fallen out of practice, or maybe you had something that interrupted your code, your work, and how to rebuild momentum in your software career. But Veronica, it's been, I don't know how long ago it was, but we had a chance to meet.
This was crazy, honestly, because actually we didn't plan it like in advance. So what I can remember, I remember the good coffee. We went to Starbucks, guys. We met in Seattle, and I was actually very happy to meet as well your wife and your kids. So it was really a pleasure for me. Well, it was fun, but it was full of business talks. Honestly, it was not like I believe if we had the espresso martinis. By the way, guys, if you are in Seattle, and then what was the? It was Starbucks Reserve, right?
Yes, yeah, it was. I think it's called the Starbucks Reserve Roastery. There's two locations. We were at the downtown location.
Yes, oh my god, I loved it, guys. Like, this is the best place. Although it's very crowded, you basically never can get a table, I guess, there. We tried to get one, but we couldn't. So, anyway, they have alcohol there, which was surprising for me. I mean, I never been to such a Starbucks in my life. So I'm like, oh no, they have espresso martinis. But I had my flight in like, what, 2, 3 hours
Right.
after that. So I couldn't get one. But yeah, next time we meet in Seattle, then we should try one.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. I had no idea that that was it was such a tourist destination. So, but yeah, no doubt we broke right into business talking about jet fuel devs and all the plans that we have. And
We couldn't stop talking, guys. Like, seriously, we were like insane. Like, for 2 hours, I think we met for like 2 hours.
about 2 hours.
Yeah, like we couldn't stop talking, but I really enjoyed it. And yeah, next time we agreed on we're going where hookah place.
Yeah.
We discovered,
Yes.
guys, that we both like hookah, so this is where we will hold our business meetings.
Yeah, it'll be a tax write-off.
I love that. Of course, of
Yeah.
course. What did you
Yeah.
think?
How has your flying been, actually? How is you just did a trip yesterday or the day before, I think?
Yeah, so I had a surgery. I recovered for a surgery. I'm still recovering, actually, but I'm back to flying. I was off flying for 20 days. I actually consider it as a, how to say, I was out of Dubai. I was in Istanbul, Turkey. So I considered it also as like a holiday, but not really, because obviously I had to recover from surgery and all of that. Um, well, yeah, I did already two flights. It was all right. I was happy to be back in the skies, flying, and but they were just a turnaround. So nothing really interesting. But I have next Boston, so I'm excited about it. And yeah, if you have actually any suggestions about Boston, I don't know what to do
Oh,
there. So if there's anything interesting, any tech community there, I would love to join. Some
oh
tech.
yeah. I don't. I haven't looked into. I know that there's a few people I follow on the X platform that definitely live in Boston, but
Oh,
I haven't reached out to meet up with anybody. But I'm sure that you could find a meetup or something if you did reach
I'll have
out.
to check.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and then the as far as like I don't know where you stay in Boston, but if you can make it into the I think it's the Italian district. There's actually I wish I could remember the name of the coffee shop. I might have to look it up. One of the best cappuccinos I've ever had in my life was in Boston.
No.
It was
Stop.
phenomenal. It was just like there was a little. I think they put a little cinnamon on top of the foam, and like the ratio of the foam and the espresso was perfect. But if you
Fine.
yeah, if you just kind of Google like the Italian district of Boston, that's my recommendation. You really can't go wrong. There's
Perfect.
great food. It's really nice, walkable. It's a really walkable city because in that area because it's just like it's old town. It's one of
Perfect.
the oldest cities in America, I think,
Oh, is
just
it?
because it's East Coast, and yeah, there's a lot of history there with Paul Revere. I think this is I am not a history person, so I shouldn't be talking about this because I'll probably get
All
something
right.
wrong. But yeah, like the British invasion and everything, the Boston Tea Party. These are moments in U.S. history that were of course there. So yeah, it's a great city if you like running. There's a running path that goes kind of right through the middle of the I don't know what area it is, kind of that Italian district, if I remember correctly. There's a nice park, and so yeah, you can't go wrong really in Boston. Hopefully the weather's good. It's not winter yet.
Hopefully, I have to check where we stay. I'm not really sure where exactly we are. But yeah, I'm excited and I'm gonna check the Italian district so to try that cappuccino. I'm all about coffee.
The last time I was in
Yeah.
Boston, we were leaving that morning. So usually I'll fly in because I like to fly like early mornings, and then I finish early in the afternoon or early in midday, and I try to have that kind of flying as best I can. But so we were leaving Boston. Oh, this is a couple months ago now, but the right as we call, like I'm the first officer, right? So I call for pushback off of the gate, right, and then you start pushing back. Right as I call for push off of the gate to depart, and we were departing on time. The air traffic controller gives us a reroute, so a different route of flight from our original plan from the airport. And usually, if ATC gives us a reroute, it means maybe one or two different points. You're going to go just one or two different points along the route. But this was a completely different route across the country from Boston to Seattle
Okay.
than we were originally planned.
Oh yeah.
So now we're just about to push back. We've got a reroute, which involves a whole litany of changes that we have to make. We have to put it into the flight computer. We have to clear it with dispatch because it was such a significant change to make sure that we have enough fuel, which thankfully we did. But all of this stuff, every little step of the process takes time. So we board it up. We're just about to push. We get a reroute. I don't know how long it took. Let's say it took 15 minutes to maybe 10 minutes to get all of these changes put in the computer, call dispatch, check the fuel, everything, right? So then we're taxiing out, and the taxi time is a lot. I think I speculate, and this is a guess, that I think at the
Yeah.
time that the air traffic control, the New York center, was short staffed. I think they just didn't have the staff, the center controllers, to handle the volume of airplanes leaving JFK, Boston, LaGuardia, all these airports that are kind of
Yeah.
packed together on the East Coast like that. And but I don't know because a lot of other flights were getting reroutes as well that day, so it was just causing this like you're just dragging the airplane out to the runway, like nothing is moving fast that day. But we
Wow.
finally get up to the holds. We're up next to take off, and it's the flight attendants are been calling because every now and then somebody needs to get up to go to the bathroom, right? Because now we've been on the airplane 45 minutes to an hour, I think, since we left the gate, right? And so anybody that boarded has been maybe in their seat for an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and a half if they boarded the flight. One of the first people on the airplane have been sitting in that seat for an hour and a half already, and we haven't left the ground. So we're having to deal with these issues as well. People need to get up, which is
How did you? How did like so? You were just about to go, like you were just about to, I guess, reach the runway, and then people just standing up, started standing up,
Yeah,
and
you'll have I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but you'll have like a family with a small child that the small child needs to go to the bathroom, right?
oh,
So like, oh,
okay,
so the flight attendants will
yeah,
say
yeah,
like
yeah,
they
yeah,
got up. I mean, you can only do so much, right? Like you can't force them to stay in their seat, right? Y-
exactly,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
seatbelt sign or
exactly.
not, if somebody's got to get up, they're going to get up. And of course, we encourage people like please stay in your seats because we can't taxi. I mean, we technically can, but we're not. We shouldn't taxi with somebody walking around the cabin because if you hit the brakes, of course, they can fall down. So we're dealing with
Yeah,
some of these
correct.
issues, and then we're right.
Always,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and especially on your flights, I'm sure with 300 people.
We have them as well. Yeah, we have this issue mostly in economy class. When I remember, almost on each flight, you have it, and you should kind of deal with it. You don't want to be like, because some people they confuse assertiveness with rudeness. So, but you have to be assertive. You cannot just let it slide because after that, it's on you. You
Right.
know it's if something happens, they'll be like, who was responsible for that area, for that certain area of the aircraft? Because in the flight, between flight attendants, we have areas. We separate the aircraft through areas, and you're responsible for that area. And yeah, it's very, very important for us to be assertive, to make them see it as much as we can. Then if they don't comply, we consider it personally, not personally, our company consider it as a law breach. So because you not fastening the seatbelt is like a law, it's not like recommendation in our airline.
Yeah,
So
it's we mean it. Yeah.
yeah, when it comes to safety, we everywhere we don't joke. So I know what you mean, and we have this a lot. But yeah, after that, you can even call the police on them if the purser on the flight decides, or if the captain, of course, decides. This is mostly the decision is made by the captain. So
It doesn't happen very often, but we have had people removed from the airplane for noncompliance, and usually there's some sort of like obviously after 8 years for yourself of working with people, you have kind of your limits, right? Like this is somebody is maybe upset about this or that or flight delay or their pillow isn't fluffy enough or who knows, but these are
this is
these
so
are
funny. Yes.
we had a lot of problems during COVID with the masks and everything, but
Oh, tell me about it.
yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, but this day in Boston wasn't that. It was just a long time. It was just an extended taxi to departure. Well, finally we are next to takeoff, but there's also airplanes landing, so there has to be a space wide enough for air traffic control to let us actually on the runway and then cleared for takeoff. So we just get our clearance to taxi onto the runway for to take off, right? And we're just crossing onto the runway, and we get a call from the flight attendant saying some guy just stood up and went into the bathroom, said it was an
Oh,
emergency, and it
goodness,
was like, oh
no.
no! And we've been waiting this long to get to the runway. We're on the runway. Somebody gets up, rushes into the bathroom, and what we had to do was just circle. Thankfully there was a taxiway right there that we could onto the runway and then just turn right back off the runway, because now we can't take off, there's airplanes landing, and who knows, we didn't know how far back in the line this is going to put us. But thankfully we
Exactly.
were able to turn right back off on the runway, onto the taxiway, and get right back in line and right back in number one, actually, because the person sat right back down, or well, not really, but they came out of the bathroom.
This is so
Oh,
good.
it was lucky, but I have never had that happen like that, the timing of somebody getting up. So but I kind of
Horrible,
understand
horrible.
their perspective. Like they've been sitting there for, I don't know, an hour and a half, pushing maybe 2 hours. I don't think it was quite 2 hours, but a long time. But when we say please stay in your seats with your seatbelt fastened, we're just about to take off. Like we mean it.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
again, we're human, and everybody's got to go to the bathroom, and it happens. So uh,
Humans are humaning.
yeah, just you're doing your human thing. It's
Exactly.
so it was a hell of a day, but we got out of Boston,
Wow.
and finally. But I think the crew handled everybody pretty well. I like your statement about confusing assertiveness with rudeness. I think that's a good statement to like you have to you have a job to do, safety to keep in mind. We're not trying to be rude, but it may come out that way, especially after an hour and a half.
Well, imagine, God forbid, in an emergency. Honestly, I don't care how I would sound. Like you have to get up and get your ass out of the aircraft. Like
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes, and some people there, when you're being assertive, sometimes people are like shocked. How could you talk to me like that? Like when it comes to safety, it's like there is no politeness if you're not complying. Like it's only assertiveness. I don't care if I sound to you rude or whatever. And rude means something else. In my opinion, rude means like you're just being rude on purpose. But when it comes to safety of the aircraft, of the passengers, of the crew, of everyone, basically doesn't
yeah.
like we don't really care how you feel.
Right. Yeah. No, I think people forget sometimes, like, we have in flight movies, we have in flight internet, you've got food and drinks. I like to joke that sometimes people forget they're on an airplane, because it's just you have all
Yes,
these
true.
amenities. And then when it's turbulent or something, you're like, well, it's a good reminder that you're actually on an airplane and moving at nearly the speed of sound, 80% of the speed of sound. And a little bump and a little jolt can send people, the galley service carts flying. It happens.
It can go wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Have you ever
it really can.
experienced any bad turbulence?
I think once or twice, like really, really bad. Once I was in the CRC, in the crew rest compartment. For whoever doesn't know what CRC means, it's basically the hidden secret room for flight crew and flight attendants as well, where we take our naps. And by naps, I mean sometimes this nap can be 3, 4, 5 hours, depends on the flight. um,
That's going back to bed.
yeah, exactly, naps. Yeah, so yeah, I experienced that when I was in the actually 777 CRC. Out of nowhere, I was just having my sweet dreams there, like sleeping. This was long, long time ago. And out of nowhere, the aircraft started shaking like crazy. And I was like, oh my God. And you were in this small bunk, because the bunk, obviously, and honestly, when you compare the 380 and 777 bunks, the 777 is like more comfortable. It's like larger, which is like weird. I know it's ironic because 380 is, I guess, yeah, I think it's bigger than 777. I mean, honestly, obviously, it has two decks,
Yeah. Oh,
but
for sure. Yeah.
because we have two pilots, two aircrafts, 777 and 380, and our pilots, they're always like, oh my God, no, 777 is longer than the 380. There is always this kind of not fight, but how to say it, how would you say it?
Yeah.
No, not
I don't know, comparison or
comparison.
a
Yes,
little
exactly.
competition, maybe. Who's got the bigger plane? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I can hear it already. Yeah.
You can, of course. So that's why I know you're a Boeing pilot. So that's why I don't want to really say that, to say 100%. 380 is bigger than 777 or something like that, because I'm always very careful what I say when I'm on the flight or something, because some people, they really get offended, like, and they start arguing, no, it's not bigger. And I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously.
Huh. I would. I, I actually I can't imagine how you could argue that the 777 is bigger than the 380. I mean, I guess you could say it's longer, but I don't know the dimensions of those airplanes. But so is that bigger? I don't know. I would go by
I
passenger
don't
count
know.
personally, but
And they go for the engines,
yeah,
because the
yeah.
engines of the 777 are very powerful. So they're like, what, look at our engines and all of that. But it's honestly, I have so much fun. It's like always fun to listen to these kind of conversations because it's like, okay, good. So I'm a 787 girl. Like I'm not even okay. I'm in love with the 380. Now the 380 pilot, the 777 pilots, they'll be like, ah, really? I love the 380, but then for me, the most beautiful aircraft is 787. I don't know. I just think it's a sexy aircraft.
Yeah, I've never flown on one. They are beautiful to watch. Their wings are very unique when you watch them land. They're really beautiful. They look. It's a very graceful looking airplane. It's funny about the comparisons. Like because I was on the Airbus A320 for 4 years, and then I've been on the 737 now for about it's coming up on 4 years, and they're people love to compare Airbus to Boeing or A320 to 737, the similar size aircraft. And I mean, I would take the Airbus any day. Which this will be inflammatory for anybody listening to like, oh, what? Like you're not a Boeing guy or whatever. Like
Exactly. Plus, you are American. Come on.
it's a great airplane. But it's just for me, I'd take the Airbus any day personally. But that's just 737 to 320. So 787, never flown one, never even been on one. So I couldn't speak for those comparisons.
Yeah, but are you going? Did you choose Airbus because of the tray table that you guys have?
A little bit, yes. Yeah, the tray table is a big one. That's
It's
a
a big
huge
advantage.
it's a huge advantage to have that tray table. I'm telling you. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, in the Airbus, there's no center control wheel. There's no yoke. It's a side stick, and so that opens up the space in front of you as a pilot. And what Airbus has done is they've put this tray table that can stow away into the front panel, or you can pull it out, and then you have this tray table. You can anything you need to write down. Of course, you got a tray table for it. Your crew meals is nice to be able to have something to put. Whereas on the 737, I'm putting my little tray on my crew meal tray on my lap. It's There's some creature comforts that are missing.
That's so uncomfortable, though.
Poor me, right? Like I have to put my crew meal table on my lap. I wanted to bring up we've been very busy over the last 3-4 weeks trying to grow and build the Jet Fuel Devs brand. And to all of our listeners that are out there, I really wanted to thank everybody for supporting the show. If you follow us on Instagram, if you follow us on Twitter/X, really appreciate all the help and support. We're still pretty young in this game of episode 5 here. We have set up a support page on our website, which we'll link to in the show notes. If you want to support the show, hosting fees, Zencaster fees, what website fees. This stuff isn't free. We love doing it, but we would love any help that
Notion fees, guys. Notion fees, please.
Notion is not free. So any support that you can send our way, we've got buttons on the website. We really appreciate it, and it keeps the podcast ad free. This is the only ad you're going to hear during this podcast. So we appreciate all the support.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so to everyone who supported us from me as well, and really appreciate you all. Thank you, guys.
So during your time off, Veronica, you're with your time in Istanbul. How were you doing with keeping up with your studies? Any software work that you were doing? Like, were you able to keep up on that?
Yes, as I mentioned, I had to undergo a surgery there. And I was also with my family there. So I said no coding, no studying, because I've been basically studying the whole year. So I was like, I can't keep up even after I have a surgery, Otherwise, I might go crazy or something. And my family will say, Are you all right? Yeah, I need some time to recover physically, mentally from this. And yeah, I for these 20 days I was coding free gal, really. And since I came back a week ago, I'm like, okay, girl, now you should level up. Like you should keep it going with and to see where I left off, because which module I should do from my university assignment and all of that. So I knew that the hardest one is coming up, which is C sharp and .NET. I have zero experience with C sharp and .NET development, so I knew that this will be a hard task for me to kind of even grasp the concept of the whole thing. I think my Java experience will help me with it, so I'm pretty, I mean, positive about it. But still, I know that it will be challenging. But I love challenges, so that's fine. When it comes to getting back my momentum, because gaining your momentum, first of all, it's hard, and then when you lose it, and then if you want to get it back, it's like you need time, you need time. So how, what helped me, I still didn't get it back fully. I want to tell you, I'm still gaining it, like I'm still getting there. I'm still not there yet, because it's very hard. Mostly I lose my momentum when I reach very difficult challenge. When it comes to coding, this is very easy for me to lose my momentum, because I get kind of like demotivated. When it's easy, you make it happen, you do your stuff, everything is compiling, let's say, and then you're like, yes, I can do it. But for me, this is my personal experience, right? For me, once I face like and this is a bad thing, I'm not saying it's good, this is actually a bad thing about me, which I'm trying to fix, but well, still working on it. When I face like a very huge difficulty coding, when it comes to coding and building projects, I'm getting demotivated, because I'm trying and trying and trying and trying, like for hours, for days, and it's still not happening. Some people, I admire the people who actually get motivated from it, from facing difficult challenges in programming. But for me, it's exactly the opposite. So this is a very dangerous way to go, because it's not good. I'm trying to fix that, but it's hard. So what motivated me to some degree, to actually high degree, to get back my momentum, is the community, the X community. Oh my goodness, you don't know how my post, when I posted that I'm starting with C sharp and .NET development, and I need help, I was asking for help. And then I was like, okay, I posted it and I left it. I'm like, maybe no one will reply, because my community there is all iOS developers. So I'm like, maybe no one will reply. 2 hours after that, I come back on the X platform, and I see maybe 30 comments already, with people sharing resources, and I'm like, oh my God, I felt so supported. I felt really like, how come I deserve this? Like, I felt so lucky and so happy to have these people, and that all of these people want to help me, actually. So I think nothing can replace community, nothing can replace people. And I'm very glad that X platform exists, and there are a lot of people that actually are there to help you, just for no reason, just because you dare to ask for help. It's important. So this is what really helped me. This what really helped me. And yeah, like I said, I'm so grateful. And yeah, even you, Dan, even you motivate me. You actually are part of this community, and you are actually now part of my closest circle. So you're very supportive. You've been very supportive with me, and this really helps me.
That's cool. That's awesome. And yeah, and we kind of feed off each other with productivity as far as the podcast goes, and what our personal projects are, and it motivates me to see the work that you do, because I guess I'm inspired by productive people, and so that community is very rich on the X platform of productive people, people working on things. Of course, sometimes you only see the best parts. Not too many people talk about the worst parts, or the fact that I know that I've worked on problems that I've had in my projects for weeks. I've been trying to solve some problem, and what I think motivates me with those times that I'm having difficulty, like I feel like I'm just banging my head up against the wall. I cannot figure out how to solve this problem. What motivates me is I know that I have overcome problems in the past, and so this is just another one of those. And even though I can't see the other side of that, I know that I've been here before, and so I know that I'll get past this too. I'll figure this out as well. So that's one of the things that I don't know if that causes me to lose momentum. It certainly causes me to lose a little bit of spirit, I guess, like excitement. I mean, you know how like when you fix a problem, when you solve a problem, how good that feels. It doesn't feel
I
good to
know.
know that now here's another problem, and now why can't I get past it? But I know that I've gotten past it before, so other problems, so I'll get past this one too. I guess that's a little bit of
Yes,
motivation
yes.
for me. But I had a moment or a period of time where I lost momentum in my development because we had a long weekend. My son and my wife did a long, or what's called a Ragnar relay race. This was actually when we met in Seattle. They had finished that race. And that's why we were in Seattle when you were as well. So they had finished that race, but it took like, I think it was like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was basically taken up with this race. So now I've gone a whole weekend without writing a single line of code or even looking at anything of code. I was just, my mind was shifted over to this, supporting my wife and my son on this race. So I lost momentum there. One analogy that I heard was it's kind of like when you stop going to the gym or you stop working out, and then like you get into a routine of you work out every day, every other day, or once a week, or whatever you do, any kind of routine. Well, for whatever reason, you stop doing that. And it's harder to get back in that. And I think if you get out of the routine of working on your project, your indie project, or maybe you lose momentum at work, for your company project, it's hard to get back into that and get inspiration back about that. And I think ways of clearing your mind, resetting, getting momentum back. There's things that you can do. I actually asked my wife about what do you do when you've lost momentum for running. She's a teacher full time, but she loves running, and she gave
Yeah.
some suggestions about the community
What
actually.
did she say?
Yeah, well, signing up for races, public races, not just running on your own, not just coding in your office on your own, or at a desk on your own. Signing up for races. In our case, maybe sign up for a conference if that's available to
Yeah,
you. That would be a way
that's
of
actually great. Yeah.
inspiring you to like, okay, I've got this conference coming up. That may be inspiring. Going to the conference can be very inspiring. Maybe.
Exactly. I remember how inspired you were when you went to the conference a couple of few months back. You
Yes.
remember
Oh,
the
yes.
Swift conference?
I still
Yeah.
think of that, and it
Oh,
inspires me
that's
to this
nice.
day of like how uplifting that was to be around. And again, to your point, the people, the community of developers, to be around those people is very inspiring. But let's say that's not available. There's no conference in your area, or there isn't one for another year. Another recommendation was maybe just change the framework, or shift to a different part of the project. If you're having trouble, you're not inspired by this part of the project, if it's available, maybe take on a different angle, work on a different part of the app, a different part of the project, whatever you have, or even just changing locations. I'll get this on the road when I'm at work. I don't want to be in my hotel working on my project, just sitting in my hotel room all the time. And in fact, most of the time I don't. It's a reason I carry a backpack for my flight bag and not a traditional pilot flight bag, because when I'm on the road for work, I put my laptops in my backpack, I'll strap that on, I leave the hotel, and I find a coffee shop, a juice bar, you name it, and I get some work done there, because just that a different location, you don't feel so isolated. So changing locations, registering for conferences, looking for a different framework, something to shift gears maybe, and then I think just being real with yourself that you're human. Sometimes you got to get up and go pee, no matter how long you've been on the taxiway. You are human. We lose our motivation. Uh, we, it's okay, and we all go through it, even if you don't talk about it on any posts about it. Like, we're all human,
That's
and
correct.
I think just being real with ourselves.
Now, jumping back to the story, your story in Boston, I have a question with you. I wanted to ask you before, but I want to ask you before we really close that topic and your story. What would you do, you as a pilot, if this happened on landing? For example, imagine this happened when you are on final. What would you guys? What would be like the pilot's actions? Like, would you guys land without caring if there is a guy standing up, if there is a guy even like I don't know, going to the toilet or in the toilet, doesn't want to get out of the toilet? Like, would you still land? Because it's a very sensitive, part of the flight if you are on final already.
Well, you've never seen my landings, so you probably wouldn't want me to land with somebody walking around in the cabin.
Oopsies.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I have my good landings and my bad landings, but no. So to set the stage a little bit, so we're on final
What's the
approach.
ratio? What's the ratio, good and bad?
80-20, 80 good, bad 20. Yeah, yeah, 80
Oh,
20.
okay, that's a good one. I thought it's
Oh.
the opposite.
No, maybe.
I'm
Uh, you
joking.
know,
I'm joking.
I have to talk myself up, but no, okay. So to set the stage, so we're on final. The landing gear is down. The flaps are set. Maybe we're 60 seconds, maybe 30 seconds from landing. Something, we're in that range, right? We're pretty close in, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, something like that.
And somebody gets up. They get up, or they rush into the bathroom, right? Okay. And then the flight attendants would call and say somebody just ran into the bathroom. So in that scenario, I've never had this happen, but in that scenario, I would go around. I would not land,
Oh, interesting.
because, yeah,
Mm,
yeah, because the act of course, the landing. Let's say you're in the 80% range, so I do a good landing. You still have to hit the brakes, which is pretty can be pretty aggressive. Depending on the runway. If you have plenty of runway, then you can go easy on the brakes.
yeah,
But if we land at some airports with some fairly short runways, and fact of the matter is, you got to hit the brakes. And
yeah,
so
exactly.
those factors, you can't have somebody obviously walking through the cabin. Even in the bathroom, there's no seatbelts, on the toilet. So, and
Yeah,
if they're in this little room of a bathroom, you can't have somebody bouncing around in there. So we go around.
yeah,
However, I will say this, that at some point, fuel is going to become an issue, and
correct.
we only have so much fuel. What goes up must come down. This airplane is going to land at some point. So at some point, it's going to become more dangerous to go around, because now we're putting ourselves in a fuel critical situation rather than landing.
Yeah,
Again, this has never happened, but I'm sure it's happened on plenty of flights where this has occurred.
for
But
sure.
to answer your question, we would go around, and because you can do that pretty smooth, especially if you just you take a minute, a moment rather, to, like, okay, nice easy go around. There's no emergency here. Just make a smooth. You're just going to slightly accelerate. Actually, you can kind of barely change speed. You just start going up again. Bring the gear up, flaps up, and then start reconfiguring and go around again to get back in line to land.
And in your opinion, what would be the is like the passenger will face some consequences, any at all, or no? He's fine. He can do whatever he wants.
That sort of depends on the demeanor and the call of sort of the feedback from the flight attendants. I would, if we were flying together, I would, like, well, what was this person causing problems for the whole flight, or was this just an incident where somebody, like, I have to go to the bathroom right now, or because many years ago we did have an incident where we landed, and this was in Los Angeles, and we were holding between runways, and somebody got up, like, to get their suitcase out of the overhead bin. And the flight attendants called us to let us know that somebody got up. Like, we just exited the runway, but we have to cross another one, and then we have to taxi to our gate. Well, the flight attendant wanted the police called on this person because for the whole flight, I guess this person had been a problem, talking back,
Okay.
not
Yeah.
complying, and that was the final straw in that case. A one-time thing. For me, I don't think that would be enough to say like, oh, we're going to call the police on you. You've not complied with a flight deck crew member.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't do it. But
Okay.
if you said this
Yeah.
person has been a problem the whole time, and maybe is talking back and just being a problem and maybe disrupting other passengers, that would be a case where yes,
Correct.
call the police.
For sure.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Interesting, interesting. I was always, yeah, wondering about actually exactly this issue.
mhm,
What would be your action on landing if a passenger, for example, stand up and do just anything,
mhm.
and if you're gonna land or no? But now I know that you would go around. I don't know about our pilots. What what are your hacks and your suggestions for people, for example, who have fear of flying?
We get this actually fairly often that people come on the airplane and maybe it's their first flight, or they don't like flying. They have a fear of flying. I like to tell people that it's a lot of times it's just sensations that you're not used to. Most people don't grow up flying or spend half of their life in the air as a flight deck crew member or whatever. And so you have these different sensations, and there's a sensation that the climbing, the descending, the banking, the airplane banking. I once was sitting next to a passenger that didn't like it when the airplane uh, banked left or right to turn. And in fact, she said to me, she said, "Why do airplanes need to bank to tilt when they turn?" And I said, well, if they didn't, you can turn without banking, but you're if you're turning to the right, it's going to throw your whole body to the left. It would be very uncomfortable, and it's not an efficient way to turn. You have to bank the airplane to get what's called the vertical component of lift over to more of the horizontal, which actually causes it to turn. So an understanding of not necessarily like how an airplane flies, but just an understanding that these are different sensations and you're just not used to it. It's not that there's anything wrong. It's just these are different sounds. Even there's sounds of the landing gear. There's hydraulic sounds. There's pressurization sounds, and so the unfamiliarity of these sounds and these sensations, I think, is what causes a lot of anxiety. Um, I also encourage people that are afraid of flying. I might talk to people in the gate area before we get on the airplane that are afraid of flying, and I'll say, "Hey, come up to the flight deck before you get on into your seat during the boarding process, and come meet us and see a little bit of what we do." There's sort of this mysticism, this magical thing to flying, I think, where people like, "How does it work? How do you do it?" And they might see the flight deck and think like, "What are all these buttons?" And I like to joke like, I don't know, I only use a couple of them, but that's not true. Um, but just a little bit of
I like that.
yeah, just a little familiarity with meet the pilots if you're afraid of flying. Say I've had people come on and they want to know what our names are. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't care. I think it's great having
Aw.
people up to the flight deck because we can't do that en route, and usually during deplaning, people don't want to. They just want to get off the airplane. But there's usually a few minutes before the flight that you can come up and say hello to the pilots. So
That's lovely.
yeah,
Yes, yes, of
yeah.
course.
What about you?
That's
What do
good.
you tell people?
Oh, well, I always suggest, honestly, maybe for my whole career of almost 8 years, I had maybe two or three times only passengers who are really, really like scared of
Mhm.
flying. And I always, but I believe that most of the people have fear of flying, but they don't really show it, they don't really
Mhm.
admit it, and so on. For example, my dad, he never visited me in Dubai for these whole
Oh
eight
wow.
years. He never came to Dubai because he has fear of
Uh huh.
flying. And I'm like, okay, take a boat then. Like, come here. I'll wait for you in 3 months or maybe when you arrive. I don't know. And like, I'm still actually trying to get him on a flight to come to Dubai to visit. It's incredible city. Everyone should visit it actually, but he's like, no, he's so stubborn. He's like, no, no, it's not my thing. But anyway, what I advise my passengers on my flights just stick to whatever hobby you have. Like hobby, I mean, when it comes to if you like to read, play games, we have an amazing IFE system. I mean, like, entertaining system and all of that stuff. So you can always distract yourself with that. Like you said before, people forget because of this kind of entertainment on the flight that they're on an airplane. So you can use that as a distraction to forget basically that you're on an airplane if you have that strong fear of flying. Other than that, you can just try to socialize with other passengers. Like, for example, talk to the person next to you, even share. I don't think it's shameful to share that you actually have a fear of flying. It's not a shame. Be open about it. Even tell the person next to you, okay, I'm scared. Entertain me now. I'm joking. Don't be that much. You can actually talk to us, talk to the flight attendants, share with us, and we will try our best to always help people. Try anything to distract your mind. Try to sleep even. Just take one of those like sleeping masks or ask the flight attendants to give you one and just put it on and forget about it. I know it's easier said than done. This is like 100%, but you should use all your resources, resources. But for me, what helps me is always let me try this code book. One of my favorite books. Not exactly this book, but yeah, one of them.
For those listening to the audio only
Oh yeah,
podcast, if you're not watching on YouTube, Veronica just held up a book by Elon Musk, or about
about
Elon Musk, I
Elon
should.
Musk. Yeah, about Elon Musk by Ashley Vance. Yeah, yeah, by Ashley.
It's a great point. It's sometimes because I commute from Minneapolis to Seattle, right? Like, and I have my laptop. I've got my coding work to do, and I'll take a little nap at the beginning of the flight, and then pretty much we get in a loft, and I'll get my laptop out, and I'll work for basically the whole flight. Not all the time, but I also have my podcast or something I'll listen to. But I'm always amazed. Sometimes I'll sit next to somebody on these commute flights that they have nothing to do, because not all of our flights in the U.S. have TV screens, right? There may not be an in-flight entertainment system, and most people bring their iPad, their laptop, their whatever device, or a book. And have something to do. But every now and then I sit next to somebody that just sits there and stares straight ahead, and it's like, man, you brought nothing to do. You knew this flight was going to be 3 hours. Bring something to do. Unless that's just I'm just want to sit and stare at the back of the seat in front of me. Another thing I wanted to talk about with being a fear of flying is the turbulence. Because usually people, this is probably the biggest thing that people don't like. This airplane is shaking around. Why is it shaking around? And what I try to convey is that, have you ever been on a boat? Most people have been on a boat, and in a boat, you can see the waves and you can see the fact that the boat is going to bounce over the waves. And the waves are going to cause the boat to rock. Well, air and water have the same characteristics. The motion of water across rocks of a stream is exactly what air does across mountains or treetops, and this radiates itself all the way up through the atmosphere. Different temperatures and air pressures cause waves in the air, and our little airplane is just a boat going through the air, and it responds the same way. The problem is you can't see it. You can't see the air unless you're flying through clouds, and then and so I think this contributes to the fear factor, if you will. That why is this airplane shaking around like it is? There's nothing, outside. It's clear. Well, you can't see it. But it's still happening, and so it's just a boat. Well, Veronica, we're out of time. It has been such a great conversation talking with you again. It's great to get caught up and conclude episode 5 with you today. I hope our listeners have enjoyed the show. Whether you're coding at your desk or cruising at 30,000 feet, everybody remember momentum may ebb and flow, but your journey is always worth the ride. It's about learning. It's about improving yourself and doing what you love the most. Until next time, this is Jet Fuel Devs. I'm Dan.
And I'm Veronica, guys. It was pleasure to be with you again, and I hope to see you soon. And don't forget to join our upcoming spaces, X spaces, that we are planning on doing. Maybe how about next week, Dan? Let's do that. And I think it's
Sounds great.
great to keep on with the topic of keeping up the momentum. You should support. We should support each other, guys. Support each other, and please don't forget to support us on Patreon and on our website. We will put links. And thank you so much again, once again, to whoever already supported us. We really appreciate that, guys. And yeah, until next time, see you soon.
Safe flights. Happy coding.